Yes.
So a lot's going on since the last time we talked.
Mm-hmm.
You're implementing a lot of things.
Doing my best too.
So tell me.
So I scheduled in open houses.
Right.
Like we talked. And I had one yesterday. And it was snowing and
Yeah.
raining.
And people still showed, huh?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
The weather was crazy.
And how many people did you
I
have?
said, I want to do this whether it snows or rains or storms.
That's right.
Lightning
If
hitting
they're
me.
out in that weather.
Lightning hitting me on the signs.
Make your hair curlier.
Yeah. It already looks like electricity hit me. Yeah.
But you know, if they're out that weather, they're buyers.
Mm-hmm.
They're serious. If they're out shopping in weather like
I had
that.
a lot of traffic come through.
Good. How many people did you have?
During the middle of the week.
Yeah.
It was Thursday. Midday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So really good feedback. You know, the
Got
people
a qualified buyer.
that came through. I have a qualified buyer, and yeah, it was really nice. They liked the property.
Good day.
So
Good.
yeah,
That's exciting.
I was shocked actually.
It makes you feel good,
Yeah,
huh?
it makes me feel good. I'm like, wow, all the work was worth it.
Right.
You know, the effort, planning, because it's not just the time from, you know, the 2 hours that you're there at the open house. It's the planning of it, marketing, right? Marketing the whole week and, you know,
The flyers,
building
the signs.
building up to the day of, and then, you know, saying, are people going to come or not?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And when I used to do open houses, when the market was horrible,
Yeah.
you know, in 07, 08, 09, sometimes you'd be there by yourself for 2 hours. Like, nobody was out. So I'd always take like my laptop or work to do because you just didn't know if people would show or not. So that's good.
So I took my laptop. Not once could I didn't even get it out of my purse.
Oh, good. So
I
you
was
were
that
busy the whole 2 hours.
Busy the whole 2 hours, nonstop, talking to the people and, you know, yeah.
And do you see how...
Getting it sold.
Yes, that's what we want. Did you see, too, how the open house will help you improve your communication skills because it's on the fly?
Right.
You know, when people are coming in, you don't know what they're going to ask or what they're going to ask about the house or things like that.
Yeah.
So it really teaches you to answer questions kind of on the fly or say, I don't know, but let me find out.
Right.
Kind of like the septic, you know, when we talked about the septic. So
Yeah.
that was perfect.
Yeah, that was a lot of improvising and
Yeah.
you know, yeah, you don't know what and every person that came through kind of look at things a little bit different.
Right.
They, you know, they all have a different perspective, even though the house is the same. Had some traffic, and they were very much focused on, you know, the outside and the back and the garage space, and maybe because they work a lot on, you know, they want a workshop or they work on construction or something. You know,
Right.
they have a separate trade. So, yeah, and then, you know, some people come through and they're super focused on the interior.
Right.
They don't care about the exterior at
Right.
all. And
Yeah.
so you never know kind of the, you know, the factors that are going to play into what people are interested.
Right.
You know, so yeah.
And then just listening to what they are in tune with, and then
Right.
making sure that you know the most that you can about that specific thing. So
Yes.
if it's
I have to say that what you're saying is listening. A lot of times we're so quick to talk, and maybe because you feel pressure that you have to be the one with knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're the one giving them information. You're the one helping them, right? But not listening, how are you helping if you
Right.
don't listen? And I think a big part, scripts, right?
Right.
We do scripts at the market center, and everything's focused around what questions to ask.
right.
So I've been implementing a lot more questions.
Good.
And then also listening what you're saying.
Right.
Listening.
Listening's the key.
Huge.
Because you could tell who the decision maker is by listening. You can see if it's the man or the woman, or if they're joint decision makers, which is rare in a house. Usually it's one or the other.
Yeah.
And usually they'll have different focuses on the house. So most of the time women are interested in the kitchen size, the finishes, and most men are interested in the exterior building, the exterior building or the extra garage space or whatever that is. But really listening, because a lot of times I'll go out with people and I think they're afraid to talk to me, and I'm like, I'm your advocate, so I'm the person you should talk to. Yeah. And then when they're kind of him-hawing around, I'm like, okay, what don't you like about the house? Because obviously we've broken it down to their minimums, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car, whatever that is. And if we go into several houses and they're not really saying they love something, then something else is going on. So, so I always say, what don't you love about the house? It's okay to tell me. So it could be it's dark, or the finishes aren't high end enough, or I thought 1,400 square feet would feel bigger, which it could depending on the floor plan. How the walls are. So just listening to that, because if they say, well, 1,400 square feet feels small, so maybe we jump up to 1,600 square feet and just see what that feels like. So just simple things like that. But I think the more you are able to just be quiet and kind of, unless they're specifically asking, because for you to go through and say, this is a tile floor, this is a granite countertop, if they're not first-time home buyers, they know what it is. You know what I mean? So it sounds kind of silly. So sometimes I'll point out features that look more like the finishes, like it has 4-inch trim, or all the window wells are trimmed out, or something like that, or whatever it is that's a little different than every other house. Otherwise, a lot of times I just follow them around and listen to what they say. Like, oh, I love the hardwood, or I love this. And then in your mind, you get a better idea what they're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Well, that was part of the experience that I had with this open house, getting the qualified buyer. I think if we've had that progressive conversation of what was the items that they liked or what they didn't like, right?
Right.
Turns out they love the house.
Right. That's always good.
It's perfect because they've been looking for the past 2 years.
Right. And how did they find you?
How did they find me?
How did they find the open house? Signs or?
I guess through the marketing.
Good.
Through marketing. They said online, so I'm guessing marketing. They did say that they saw the house on the website.
Okay,
Not
good.
quite sure what website.
Yeah.
I guess that's another question I could have asked, right?
Yeah.
But we were in the conversation of the actual property. And
Sure.
Yeah. And so.
That's perfect. Good.
Yeah.
And what's so crazy is, so they are not working with an agent. Because they can't be looking 2.5 years and not find the property, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
So it's also timing for people.
Right.
They were looking for, they were working with an agent back 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And they were, looking at a lot of houses, viewing a lot of houses. Nothing panned out.
Right.
And they got burned out.
Right.
Because a lot of times, you're looking, you can get burned out if it's not the right timing. For the area that you're looking, if you're very specific about the area, very specific at what your needs are for your family,
right,
then yeah.
Especially in
so
this
that's
market.
the case there. And so they gave up.
Right.
2 years later, it's like,
ta-da!
Wow, ta-da, it's right here.
Good.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
And then you sent them to get pre-qualified?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So you'll talk to them today?
Yes.
Write an offer?
Yes.
That's awesome. Good for you. Good. And then one of the other things that we had talked about is that you're fluent in Spanish. So in our marketplace, there's a lot of, I think it's something like 42% of Hispanics. We have a huge Hispanic population. So for us, being bilingual, which I am not, but you are, is a huge asset to people. So we had talked about you marketing that more in the beginning when we first got started. So that's been, I don't know, this summer.
It's been
maybe 5 or 6 months.
Right.
And so the other day I was really pleasantly surprised to get the email kind of introducing yourself to other agents and telling them. So tell me a little bit about that.
So behind the scenes of I guess since we talked and you mentioned that, before you mentioned that, I think my concept of myself has always been, I know Spanish is my first language. I was born in Mexico. I was raised in Mexico. I graduated in Mexico. It's a given that you would know that I speak Spanish, right? I can hear my accent. The voice recognition on my phone can tell the accent because a lot of times my my voice to text comes out super wrong, and I'm like, come on.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's got to be my accent. You got to get it better.
That is so funny.
So I guess I was so hard on myself, being such a perfectionist about learning English, right? That I'm super hard on pronunciation, and I was self-taught.
Right.
So coming into real estate, I'm like, yeah, people can tell I'm Mexican, right?
Maybe.
Maybe,
I don't know.
but that's been my perception. People
Right.
can tell I'm Mexican, or people can tell I speak Spanish.
I don't know.
I really didn't. I didn't really put it in my mind. Hey, I know I'm in Colorado, and
Right.
most people speak English. Most of my marketing has been in English.
Right. But our
And-
population is huge, and we have a
and
big migrant population
Yes.
too. Migrant workers.
Right.
Plus, I think we have a lot of people that move from Mexico here. I think because our weather's so nice. People don't think in Colorado the weather's so nice, but we have more
I think
warm
it
days
is.
than Florida,
Right.
so it is a great place to stop. But and I think a lot of people feel more comfortable speaking in their native language. Just like you're hard on yourself, they're hard on themselves because they're not sure that they're relating the information to people correctly.
Right.
So if they could talk to you in Spanish and then you were to reiterate it in English so that you're on the same page. I mean, what a gift. Like, truly a gift.
Thank
Like,
you. Yeah.
we're Hispanic, but I know very little. Poquito, cerveza. So,
Tequila.
yeah, exactly. So that's the story of mine. So what a gift. So you sent out the email. So tell me,
Sent out the
tell me how you put that together.
was per Jamie's instruction here, per Jamie's inspiration. But since then, I think that was one of my main, beginning of 2019 actually. That was one of my main objectives, was to market myself more into the Spanish community, because I realized, hey, people really, I kept getting feedback, oh, you speak Spanish.
Right.
And it was shocking to me, because I was assuming, it's
Right.
the assumption of other people's perception towards you.
Right.
So that was one of my big objectives, and I have added more Spanish-speaking clients
Good.
to the database, but I have not marketed myself as much in Spanish as I should.
Right.
So there's a lack there that I need to fill. And I think the beginning was that email that I sent out, and
Yeah.
letting.
Did you get any
letting
other
everybody
response?
know that. Oh yeah.
What did they
Response.
say? What was their response?
Well, everybody was very positive, and kind of grateful. Like not shocked, but just grateful that I sent it out.
Good.
So yeah, a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's terrific. I knew you would. I think you'll pick up a lot of people that way too. Yeah, and then the marketing, you may want to market in Spanish and English.
Spanish and English,
Mhm.
yeah. So that's something I'm working on balancing.
Good.
But within the last several months, I have been working with other community partners in the Spanish community.
Good.
So
Yay, exciting.
we're working.
So
I have just recently got some Spanish-speaking clients from Denver. So
Wow, and how did they find you?
actually, I had a couple of referrals from Denver agents for
Okay.
Spanish-speaking.
Yeah.
And let's see. Yeah, I think it's been just word of mouth.
Yeah. And is it on your
People
KW
saying,
profile?
"Oh yeah, call Dalila." I don't think I have it in Spanish. So there's a lot of work that I have to do.
Because on your KW
There's
profile, you
definitely a lot
wanna
of
put it.
work that I you know.
You just need to
there's always
implement
room for improvement, but
yeah.
I've always felt that there's always room for me to maximize the tools that I have,
Oh, absolutely.
which, you know, I don't most of the time.
Right.
I'm shy.
Yeah.
So I
The
have
girl
to,
who
yeah,
dances
I have
with
to
J-Lo is
utilize-
shy. Like, come on.
I have to utilize all my abilities, but I think that's for everybody, you know.
Right. Well, we all
there's-
have our
there's-
weaknesses.
yeah.
Whether it's
Potential
mentally.
that we don't.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, people are like, oh, you're so great. And I'm like, not really. Like, there's so many things I can do better, or, you know, a lot of it's time. Once you get through a lot of deals, you know, some of it's just experience.
Right.
So it's nice. But we all have our own self-doubt. And one of the things with the KW, is when people are searching for you,
Mm-hmm.
if you put that in there, that will be one of their search engines to locate you. So I think that would be
You're
huge
right.
for you. Yeah. It's real easy to change that profile in the
Yeah.
back. So you should do that.
I'll get on it today.
Okay, good. Snap, snap. So that's good. So you sent out the email, you're doing the open houses.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrific. And what else is going on?
The other portion was huge that I've been working on is business planning for. I completed a business plan for 2020.
Good. So what does it look like? So now I'm so excited. I'm like, okay, now we're talking my language.
Now we're talking. Well, let me tell you, setting goals, it's actually my strong suit, okay?
Right.
Setting goals and having a plan. I am a planner personality. I like to visualize what I'm doing, where I'm going, and I'm a long-term visual person or planner, you know. Planning without implementation is a dead plan, really,
Yeah.
right?
It's
So
it's an idea.
Yeah, it's an
It's-
idea,
right.
and I'm an idea person, right? I'm not an implementer, but if you're doing business, whatever type of business, I realized that through this process of listening to other leaders within the last couple months, and then all of the process that we've gone through internally, because this is not just the external activity that I've been doing.
Right.
You know, where am I lacking? Am I working enough? Am I, being effective enough? What am I doing that is not producing results? And what am I doing that is producing results?
Right.
Because it's really the results. You talked about numbers.
That's
Are
what
you getting the
counts.
results? Are you just talking the talk?
Right.
Getting the results and actually making the business happen.
Right.
Right? So what are we busy with? So I had this really deep analysis of what am I busy with? What are the activities that I'm actually doing? I found that I do a lot of money producing activities, which we call the 20, right?
Mhm,
The 20%. But before, I don't follow all the way through to the results
Right.
because of fear. So there's a lot of fear.
Fear because you'll get
Related
in
to-
going and then you'll fail.
Yes. Yes. I like to be prepared. I like to make sure that I'm doing it right.
Right.
So that with that comes a lot of fear of failure, a lot of fear of maybe it's a perfectionism. I don't know what it is, but so it's not the effort of doing the work.
Right. That's easy for you.
I've been a hard worker since I graduated at 15 from high school. And then since then, my goal was to be an entrepreneur to
Right.
help my mom.
Yeah.
That was my main goal. My mom raised 9 kids, and that was something that was deep in my heart. And so since then, I've always had 2 to 3 jobs.
Right.
And gone in from self-employment to back to corporate America, and sometimes self-employed and corporate America, and combined the two, and I've always been busy.
Right.
So it's not the busy part, and it's not the effort, it's not the hardworking, ethical, right? Work ethic. I
Right.
have strong work ethic. But it's the stopping myself from completion. So from all the process that we've been going through,
Right.
it's led me to, I did a couple of webinars. One of them was with Ben Kenny.
You said it
And-
was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so groundbreaking for me.
Right.
It was just a couple of words that he said, just broke through and tied back into everything that we've been working on.
Right.
You know, the process of a goal, like I said, a goal in a plan comes easy.
Right.
But what he mentioned was, if you have a goal and you have a plan, and the plan does not have action, then it's a lie. So that's the accountability, and that's the thorough follow through until you get results, right?
Right. Because you're lying to yourself.
Yeah. So he said, you're lying to yourself, you're lying to your family, and you're lying to everybody around you, right? So how can you break through that fear? You just got to go through it.
Right.
You just got to do it.
Right.
Which is super scary.
Right.
I don't know about anybody out there, but when you're facing a fear,
Right.
you want to run the other way.
Right.
you
Well,
know?
nobody wants to fail. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think anybody wakes up and says, okay, if I fail today, it's not a big deal.
Right.
Because I think we all have that internal, little voices saying, do this, do that. And I think with your personality is very similar to mine, which is have this unrealistic expectation of ourselves. So it's this perfection, like whether it's this has to be perfect or the kids or whatever it is, like when you say schedule, like I'm a freak about it. Like my husband, like literally, can we schedule dinner or can you put me in our schedule? Or my parents, and I'm like, oh my God, here's what my life is now. My parents have to schedule time with me. Like, how ridiculous is this? So, we're very good at that, and the control reduces the fear. Like for me, it reduces my anxiety. So I don't like on the cuff things. So like when April comes in and she's like, let's do it right now, it starts my anxiety skyrocketing because I'm like, oh God, I'm not prepared. I didn't have time to like process it and think about what am I going to say and what am I going to do. And so I have to calm my nerves, and she drags me in there to do something, and it usually comes out okay because she prepares me. She's like, here's what I think we should talk about, and that makes it easy. But we've done it several times, and I still have really high anxiety when I don't know it's coming. Like if she scheduled it, and I look at my calendar every night before I go to bed to kind of know what my day is going to look like. Yeah. I'm fine. It's when it's like, hey, you want to come in here? And I'm like, no. Can somebody else do it? She's like, no. And you're like, ah. So it's our personality is because failure is, for me, failure's not acceptable. It's just, it's a cop-out to me. I don't, even in the kids growing up, and I'm like, you could do anything you want to do. Failure's part of the process, but it's what you do with the failure. You get up and you try it again, and then you make it better every single time that you do it. So just like this, the more you talk to people, spontaneity, when they come in, then when you do it all the time, it's very easy. Mm-hmm. So when people say, what's the code for septic? And you're like, oh yeah, it's good for a year. You have to have it cleaned before the title will transfer. But if that's the first time you've ever gotten a question, you're
right.
like, oh goodness, where am I at? So the more conversations you have, just the easier it is, because it's knowledge now. You're learning. And I always told people, I'm getting in the business. I had a background in construction and development, so that was good. I mean, we built houses, and so I know the process. Did I know how to sell houses? And no, it's totally different process, because we'd build something, people would come in, they'd love it, we'd sign the contract.
Right.
And now, when the market got really tough, now it's, what do you need? What is your payment strategy? Have you been pre-approved? All of the things that you don't really think about on this side of the the other side of the table. So the more you have the conversations and they go through, the easier it will become for you. So it won't really be in your mind failure. Mm-hmm. And then the more you do it, the more the end result comes. Because you're not going to close every deal. I mean, right. People are like, do you lose deals? Of course I lose deals. I mean, there's personalities that don't get along very well. I'm very black and white. I like things direct. Some people don't. They like a little more coddling. And I'll coddle to a point, but then I'm like, let's get to business. But I've never been a coddler. Like, the kids and everything were not really warm and fuzzy. I mean, I love them to death, but like, I've never been like where they could just lay on me and I'd be like, so.
So I feel special. I always get a hug from you.
Yeah, I don't mind hugging. I love hugging. Yes. It's when your kids are like clingy and they want to lay on you and you're like, so, but just getting through the process, going through it, you're going to get the results. Do I fail? Absolutely. I've been in the business 20 years and I still fail at things that I'd like to do better or could have went better. And I always say hindsight's 20/20 because once it's over and you have a lot more time to think about, if I would have done this or that, then it could have came out differently or better or whatever. I mean, nobody's perfect. So it's just getting through the process and just saying, when you're ready to fail, just say, well, I ain't the only one. Jamie's in the same boat with me, right? So you won't feel alone. And I think that's just part of it. And I think with a lot of real estate agents, it is an excuse. Yeah. They say, I'm busy all the time. Right. But their numbers don't show they're busy all the time. So what are they busy doing? They're busy picking up the kids or taking their buddies to lunch or taking a client to lunch or that. But if it's not giving you an end result, that's just socializing. Right. Really, to me. Yeah. Like, if we're not, and of course I love that part of the job too. Like, I have clients that have been our friends for years. I've sold them a house and I love it when they come over, and that's why we have some of the events, because I don't get a chance. I like seeing them all in a group, so it gives me a chance to touch base with them, because trying to have, coffee or lunch with them throughout the year is pretty tough with my schedule, but and that's a good part of the business too, but you still have to you still have to pay the bills. No matter what happens, the bills have to get paid, so.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, it goes across the board of not just real estate, but anybody that's an entrepreneur, right? You're out there prospecting, you're out there looking for business, right? Looking for the people that need your help, and you're there to help, right? That's the even exchange. But a lot of times you go out there and I've done it where I'm doing an activity. It's a money producing activity, right? It's part of the 20. Right. And you're out there in the community, but you're lacking that intentionability, or I don't know if that's a word.
The intention to get business.
To be purposeful about, your interactions. So I've gone from that to purposeful, back to non-purposeful, back to purposeful, right? And then when I get to purposeful, and then I have an interaction with somebody that says, I'm going to sell my house. I'm like, oh my gosh, she wants to sell her house. Am I prepared enough for this?
That's so funny.
They're freaking out. Am I going to do the CMA right?
You have to say,
am I going to help her? This lady needs my help.
That's so funny.
So it's like emergency mode.
Right. You just went from great to like, oh my God, what did I do to myself?
Purposeful. I'm like, yes, I'm being purposeful. Then I get the business, right? And then I had many opportunities. Right. Many opportunities. And I'm not just saying, it's because what you're saying is it works. Being purposeful works to get the opportunity. Now you get the opportunity. Now you got to convert that to result.
Right.
Through the action.
Right. And that's what you're most serious about.
And so first it was just being out in the community and interacting purposefully, because, I'm introverted, even though people think I'm not. Right. I'm very introverted. So it takes a lot of effort for me to, of effort for me to interact. just naturally, right? Yeah.
And I would never guess that in a million years, like meeting you the first time. Yeah,
But
never.
I do love connecting with people.
Right.
And so I think that's my driver. So my effort of connecting with people, being out in the community. So there's the chain is broken there because
you're freaking out. You just went from
because
so
going
instead
from one
of
phase
saying
to the other to
oh
the
my
other.
God, you should
completion,
be
right?
Right.
Completion. Yeah,
but instead of oh my God, you should be saying oh my God, yes, you got it. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get it done. So some of it's your mentality,
right?
Like calming yourself down because you have high anxiety now because the perfection comes in, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, wonder if I don't do it right. Wonder if I miss something. Wonder if she doesn't like me or it's all of those little psychological games. I think everybody kind of plays with themselves.
Yeah.
So what you need to do now is know that wow, she just put herself in my hands. So I kind of treat it like if we're the same age, like treating my sister, like that, how would my sister want to be treated? What would I do for her? Or if it's somebody older, what would I do for my parents? How would I relate to them and how would I discuss the things, maybe you don't want a 2-story house and you're 80 years old because you might not be able to make it up the stairs someday or, you want to downsize and you're going from 7,000 square feet into 1,500. In a year, they're going to be selling that house again because it's too much. It's like just too big of a thing. So some of it is, like, I consider it a blessing. So when people say, I want to sell my house with you or I want to buy a house with you, wow, what a thing to put something that big into my hands and I'm appreciative. And then knowing that you are amazing. You're not going to screw it up. You have all the background. You just got to repeat. So people always say, I don't know how you do a CMA in 30 minutes. Why? Because this year alone, I've probably done 200. Right. So, yeah, it's pretty easy at this point. Like, I know the market. I know what I'm looking for in the houses that are going to. So for me, it's practice. You're not going to be an NBA player if you don't practice basketball, right? Yeah. So in our thing, it's the same thing. So it's just a matter of getting that education and then applying. The marketplace is going to tell you what the house is worth, right? So you just got to be within a certain range. And then the part is customer service. They want to make sure that you have their back, that you're going to get them the best deal or you're going to get them the most money for their house, or that sometimes it's not money, sometimes it's transition. I'm not moving to Florida until this date and I don't want to move twice. Okay, well then we're going to look for that buyer that's going to that has some flexibility to allow you to stay in the home until that time. So, and that's where the listening comes in again, because people always think it's money motivated. It's not. There's a lot of real estate deals that go on that have really nothing. The money's the money, but that's not the most important thing to them. Right. It might be selling their house quick. It might be that buyer who's a little more negotiable on and that's when you make those phone calls. So in the summer when you're in multiple offer situation, you call the selling agent and say, what's their motive, like what would make this contract perfect for them? Okay, this is what they really want. They want to rent back or they want to do this, or their new construction's getting finished, they don't want to move twice. Then in the contract you could tell your buyer, okay, money's really not the motivating factor. Of course everybody loves money, but here's what they really want. If we're able to accommodate that, we might be a stronger offer than somebody who's offering more money. Right. So when she says, I want you to sell my house, that's like, oh, it's all the angels singing down on you. So you have to take it as that. And know that I think if you always work with good intention, if you work with a good heart, it'll always come out. But the marketplace is going to help lead you to that number. And then really it's just a process, making sure that they get walked through the process and that, you tell them. Because when we go through an offer the first time, oh my gosh, they're so overwhelmed. Really, their main focus is price and when's the closing. So then through the process, we say, this is our title commitment period. This is what's going to happen during this period. This is our inspection period. This is what's going to happen here. And just kind of take it a little bit at a time, because the first time you went over it, they were overwhelmed. So then just making sure. Yeah. So that's a great thing when they say that. So now you got to just change your mindset to, instead of being like, you got to be like, yes, okay, I got this. So so that's amazing.
Just kind of run with that, you know. Run.
Well,
run
look
with,
how good you felt yesterday.
That nervousness and fear, they say, is the same. It's the same. Right. It's the same vibration when you feel nervous and when you feel fear.
Yeah.
Or when you're excited. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
when you're excited and when
something.
you're nervous about something. So, being comfortable with feeling that anxiety, and then still, you know, bulldozing through it through to the other side.
Right.
That's kind of the challenge that I don't know if I'm alone, but I don't.
No,
yeah,
not alone.
A lot of people face whatever kind of fear you're facing.
Yeah, and I still get anxiety.
Yeah.
I go out on some of these things, or we have a really tough one, and there's just no comps, and I have to say there's no comps. We need to get an appraisal on it. We need a professional opinion that has more exposure to the market.
You were in a class. What was it? I don't know if it was a CMA class, and you were about to close on this deal, and then you got a phone call or something happened with this deal, and you're like super calm, like, oh, I gotta take care of this.
That's what I gotta do, right?
I would have been freaking out.
Right. So, and I think in real estate, it's the same thing. It's so emotional because you're high, and then you're low. Like, you're excited you got the offer, and then you get an inspection objection that's 4 pages long. You know, they want a new house, or, you know, it doesn't appraise or something like that. Well, part of it is, if we could control it, we would, because you and I are that personality. We're going to control as much of it as we can. So I think what I've learned is just to try and calm myself, because I probably did have anxiety, but the way that I deal with it is pull it back in, calm down, think rational, because a lot of times when you're that hyper, you're not thinking rational. You gotta I think part of it is processing it. So, okay, I have a problem. Now how am I going to solve the problem? And I think a lot of other agents react like, I have a problem, this is the end of the deal. I never think that.
Yes.
I think,
a lot of people can relate to that.
Right.
Yeah. You think the worst.
Right.
The worst scenario ever.
Mm-hmm. And I think the anxiety comes over as, oh, now the deal's going to end. So you're upset for your client, whether it's a buyer or a seller. You're upset with yourself, even though a lot of times you can't control it. And then it's just pulling that anxiety back in and saying, okay, so we have an issue. Now what are we going to do? And I think, too, over the years I've learned there's just certain things we can't control. And I tell people that. I can't control the buyer. I wish I could. And I can't control the lender. So if we have a lender issue, it's beyond, and I can call them till I'm blue in the face. It's not going to mean anything, because there's just nothing you could do about it. It's their own thing. So I think just when you have that, just like calming yourself down and saying, okay, we got a problem, now how am I going to solve it? And to me, that's what's exciting about real estate. So it's not really
problem solving.
Yes. It's like, oh my God, we have this, how am I going to fix it? And then when I find the solution, I'm like, woo! Like, it's a whole new rodeo kind of thing. I'm so excited because it feels so good, you know. And it doesn't always go great. All my deals don't, you know, go terrific. And sometimes it's personalities too.
Right.
You know, they're under a lot of stress. And the one thing that I've always told Jay is, you're their rock. So they're allowed to be high and low and sad and mad. You are not. You are the constant. So you need to keep, if you're mad at another agent, I understand. If you're mad at the lender or the appraiser or the inspector, it's okay. You have to be like, okay, well, let's see what we're going to do about this. Because, they're up here angry or upset. You can't get to the same level because all it does is create more problems. You have to be like, okay, we got a problem. I need to figure out a solution. Let me call you back. And that's the one thing I do get a lot of compliments on is people are like, you just handle it. So, and I'm like, oh, it's stressful. Ask my staff. They know I get super stressed. It's just my people don't see it because that's not their job. It's my stress. My job is to make sure this transaction goes as smooth as it can. And I'm not going to feed into fear or anxiety or that because I have a job to do. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, but it also, what you were saying, a thought came to mind when you were saying that. It's mine. It's my emotion. It's not your responsibility that I have this emotion.
Right.
Even though we're sharing the conversation and we're, in the same kind of similar scenario right here. We're dealing with the same issue. It's the ownership part of, maturing enough to say, I take ownership of not just the actions, but the emotions. I take ownership of my emotions, and I'm in charge of regulating them.
That's right.
Right? I'm in charge.
Yes.
Of my emotions.
Right.
Is taking that ownership.
Right.
I think that's a huge step of maturity to say, I don't, just because I'm angry, I don't have to put it on somebody else or you're
Right.
negative. A lot of people are so negative and they get something out of being negative to everybody else because, it's everybody else's problem. It's everybody else's fault, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lack of maturity of saying, hey, I take full ownership of how I feel.
Right. And how I project it.
How I'm projecting
So
it.
you may not, I have bad days.
Yeah.
I don't tell everybody, I hope you have a crappy day because I'm having one. You know what I mean? Like, my job is to be like, you basically don't know I'm having a bad day, hopefully. Mm-hmm. I would say the staff probably around here knows it more just because they see the compounding, like how our day goes from maybe something that was going to be a very normal, nice day to, oh, this lender can't close, this buyer can't be out, or just all of that, and then just trying to not reflect it on other people or other deals. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes you just gotta put it away, put it in your pocket, and know that you're gonna deal with it when you have the time sometimes. Because I think we get so wound up, and then we got two other people, and they don't know what's wrong with us, so they feel like that weird vibe, like right. She's not into it, or maybe I said, because everybody has the same fear. I do too. When people aren't talking to me, I'm like, did I say something off the cuff? Because, I think I'm so funny. Right. And I say things that probably aren't funny to everybody.
Wait, was I funny or was I offensive?
Right, exactly.
I'm not sure.
And if I was offensive, let me apologize. Because then I'm like, oh my God, Delilah's not talking to me. What did I say? How did I hurt her feelings? Yeah. Because in my own mind, I'm having the same anxiety that you're having. And I want to know because I have to be able, because my intention is never to hurt anybody. Yeah. Like, if I don't like you, it's pretty obvious. Because I won't have anything to do with you. I just don't have time to waste my people with people I don't care for. So, it's making sure that, because we all have that same insecurity. I think most people, especially in this business, are people pleasers. We want to make people happy. That's why we're in this business. Yeah. And then in the meantime, we're like, ooh, we're going crazy. So it is. It's just trying to control it and step down, listen to kind of what you're saying. And sometimes it's, even though poor Jay gets the brunt of everything I do around here, but sometimes like he'll be talking and I'll hear his voice change. Mm. And when he gets off the phone, I'm like, here's what I picked up. So, and even though he doesn't want to hear it, he does want to hear it because he knows he didn't know that he was doing this. And I'm like, Jay, you gotta just pull it down. When they're here, you're here. You got to stay solid. So, because it's very easy when people are going back and forth to, you're high, I'm high, you're higher, I'm higher.
Yeah.
And then that emotion just creates all that chaos. So you just want to pull it in. And I think too, just probably in the last year or so, my kind of thought process has changed on some of the deals that would really make me upset or things that would really set me off. And I just look at I don't have cancer. My kids are healthy. I have a thriving business. I have food on the table. I have a house. I'm truly blessed, realizing that some of that other stuff is just stuff. Yeah. It's really not the big picture. And I think sometimes when I'm because this year has been really overwhelming in a lot of different ways for me, not just at work, but in other ways. And I think just telling myself, if this is the worst thing that happens to me today, it's probably not a bad day. Or, so this deal's falling apart. You know what? I don't have cancer. They don't have cancer. We're going to get through this and go to another deal or whatever. And realizing, we're not going to please everybody.
Right.
That's my problem.
Yeah.
Is I want everybody to be happy and want everything to go perfect. And then when it doesn't, I carry a lot of that burden. Mm-hmm. And some of it's just I can't control the universe. If I could, I'd be a billionaire. And I'd be sitting on a beach, having my money making money for me. So, just getting, and I think sometimes too is just trying to get your anxiety, because I have really high anxiety too, and trying for me to control it. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Learning to let it go.
Just let it go.
And solve problems.
Yeah, I love that. That's probably the best part of the business.
I enjoy that.
Yes, because it's just when somebody thought it couldn't be done.
Yeah.
Ta-da! We did it. So
we saved the day.
Yes, so that's exciting to me. So, and there is different parts. My focus is going to be a little different this coming year, but it's exciting. It's exciting to say we have this problem and we fixed it, and then people are like, "How did you do that?" And it's resources. It's just calling people that have been through it before or not, and knowing who to call. I mean, that's the gift. That's where the socialization comes in. Where you're out meeting people, that's the gift. Mm-hmm. Is that, I have a question about Pueblo West Metro. Yeah. I call Matt Smith. Matt Smith calls Nina. Nina calls me. And we're like, thank you, Matt Smith, because I just, you just helped me answer a problem that I didn't know. But it's because we have a relationship,
Gotcha.
And it's been built over time, and he knows if he needs anything from me, he makes the same phone call. So that's what I like about that, going out, socializing, and doing things with other people. That, I think that's the home run. Yeah.
Having a nice dynamic and collaborating with other professionals.
But just being able to call somebody and saying, hey, I have this issue, what do you think? And being open to what they say, mm-hmm. Because if you could believe it, I'm not always right. It's hard to imagine. And they'll be like, well, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll try and do it better the next time or whatever it is. Yeah. But being open to the conversation. Yeah. So, and respecting that person, And part of that, too, is really what Brooks taught me. My daughter's more calm in different ways. She sees things in different ways than I see it. But what's great about Brooke is she's open to say, okay, Mom, I see that you're coming here, but this is how I'm seeing it, and we're okay to have the conversation. And then, then for me, I'm a ponder, so then I think about it for 2 or 3 days, and then I'm like, oh yeah, she's probably right. Mm-hmm. But to be able to have somebody to tell you that is hard, especially in my personality, because I think I come across very strong, very opinionated. So to be able to say, you might want to look at it this way, and you're like, oh, never thought of it that way. So.
But I think the misconception of us or this type of personality also is that because you're strong-minded, because you're opinionated, because you feel that you're always right, that you're not open-minded. But it's actually the very opposite of that. You're extremely open-minded because you're always striving to do better.
Right.
And you're extremely open-minded because you like to ponder or analyze whether this is the right way to do it or should I do it this way and
Right.
make it better. So, it's I think it's a misconception of being a strong-minded person that you're not open-minded. But you actually are the most open-minded than other personalities.
Right, because we think it could be done a different way or a better way. And you just got to be open to hear it. I mean, there's times in the office girls have said, why do we do it this way? Because da-da-da. And I'm like, I don't know. It's the way we've always done it. So we can eliminate that process. Or they'll say, how come we do this? We need to eliminate it. And I say, well, we can't eliminate it because this makes this happen. Like, we need those numbers to. And the one thing about real estate agents is they don't have their numbers. They really don't. And the one thing that you could see in my business is when we really started tracking them, and I think it was 10 to now, is how it changed, how it's seasonal. So you could tell I love Christmas because my first quarter always stinks because I'm out shopping and spending it with the kids and doing all the things I love to do and spending it with my family. So my first quarter always stinks. And it's when you're looking at the numbers, it's very easy to see that I probably need to stay a little more focused.
No, I mean, yeah, that's why it's so huge. But numbers is it's a factual, right?
Right.
It's data,
Right.
and
They don't lie.
It is what it is, what you see in front of you. So, the fact that you're so open with yourself and honest with yourself, that you're brave enough to say, okay, what are my numbers, right?
Right.
And is it my goal? Am I hitting my goal? Is it good enough, or do I need to do better?
Right.
It comes with a lot of courage and being honest with yourself. Like doing this business planning, clinic with Ben Kenny, and then I put all my numbers down. And also, is it realistic? But also, now I'm staring at the numbers. Am I brave enough to make it happen?
Right.
Right? That's why a lot of agents don't look at the numbers.
Right.
Because
it's easier.
It's easier not to look at the numbers because then you feel like you're succeeding every day, right? Because you're doing your business and you're grooving and moving and, you're doing those activities and yes, you're closing deals, but what was your actual goal?
Right.
And are you reaching it?
Right.
Are you really comparing yourself to the numbers that you set for yourself that you know that you can reach?
Right.
So yeah, it takes that's been a huge reflection for me, to look at numbers. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I am totally failing in this business. Because the expectation, I have such a high standard for myself that going the opposite direction and not having results, it's so depressing.
Yeah.
So depressing because I know that I can do better.
Right.
I know that I can hit those numbers. I know, but there's something that's stopping, the process.
Right.
So this process of analyzing, and goodness, it's not an easy process. It's not. And then looking at those numbers and seeing the numbers and then looking at the goal, what I have for myself for 2020, I actually felt pretty motivated going through this, actually typing that down and doing the plan for 2020.
Right.
We're in November. Like, I'm going to work
it starts
hard
now.
to affect, right? Because we work, a month or two ahead of time.
Right.
You won't see a check for what we're working today or tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll see it a couple months from now.
That's why, now I got to start working harder because January is where my
to
numbers
make sure that
fail.
January starts up good.
Well,
but I mean, that's a part that I'm used to. Being in the entertainment industry, you work 2 to 3 months ahead. You don't get paid. You'll see your check in the mail. 30, 60 days, maybe 3 months later.
Right.
So you know, that doesn't faze me, but it's the reflection.
Right.
Because those numbers will reflect back to you.
Right.
And it's looking at yourself and saying, where am I really at?
Right.
You know?
And then every month, if you don't make the goal, saying, okay, now this month, instead of 10 appointments, I have to have 14 appointments. And then saying to myself, okay, where am I going to find the other 4? What am I going to do to get me 4 more appointments? Open houses, door knocking, events, client events, calling your past clients, asking for business, that type of thing. And I think for me, that's scary too. So last January, I closed 0. And we close 220 units a year. So 0 for me is like, were you here?
What are you doing?
Were you talking to anybody on the phone in November, December?
Yeah.
And like bang, reality hit, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? You're doing all these things that are not producing business. You're doing this and this and this. It's not important. So for the next 6 weeks, I told the girls, if it doesn't have to do with a buyer or a seller, I'm not doing it. Everything else is fluff.
Yeah.
Until I can work with buyers and sellers, I don't care about whatever processes, things we got to do. All I care about,
restructuring and restructuring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or
Planning.
you know, yeah, we got to
other
plan
stuff.
this, or we got to
Yeah.
do this event. I don't care. I don't care. I just need buyers and sellers to keep our business running. And for me, because I have such a big team, seeing 0 on a thing was like heart-wrenching to me, and I'm thinking, what was I doing? And some of them had closed early in December, so that was okay, but it wasn't okay not to not have like that backup. And then the great thing is with having a team is that Megan pulled through, and she had more closings, you know, in January, and so it kind of will fluctuate, but it is looking at the number and just saying, because what happens is a lot of agents say, oh yeah, I did make my 10. You'll have the conversation with them. Okay, how are you going to make up the other ones? The conversation ends.
Right.
Because they don't want to say, yes, I have to have an open house, or I have to call my past clients, or I have to go door knocking, whatever it is that they really enjoy. So
Because there's fear related with it.
oh, absolutely. It's much
run it
easier
the
to
other
say,
way.
just skip those 2.
Yeah.
Let's change the goal. Yeah.
Fear is like a burning house. It's like most people are gonna, you know, run the other direction.
Right.
You're not gonna go into a burning house, right? So dealing with that emotion, you know, it's you gotta be trained.
Right.
Like you were talking about, the more you do it, the more easier it comes, and the more you learn to regulate it.
Right.
You know, firefighters, what do? They train just to go into a burning house, the place that everybody runs from.
Right.
So, you know, training yourself to repetitively practice to
Right.
train, you know, how to deal with it,
Right.
how to deal with that emotion, how to deal with fear, how to, you know,
Right.
how to still walk through that door instead of running from it.
Mm-hmm.
Still walk through it.
Right.
But, you know, you're doing it more consciously, and you're doing it prepared, mentally prepared, saying, yes, I'm going through this because
Right.
I'm prepared to deal with it.
Right.
And I know how to put the fire out.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
I got the hose.
Yeah. I'm just
This
thinking
room
about
always gets interesting.
what Antoine would say right now. Even April got red. Oh, that's funny. So we got to be pretty close. What time is it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 9:12.
Okay.
So the next time, let's go over your goals. So
Yes.
would you print us copies?
I thought about that this morning. Oh, I should have printed it.
Yes.
Because I know you like stuff on paper,
yes.
and then I'm like, well,
I'm the paper
I'll pull it up
person.
here, but yeah.
I'm killing
I'll-
trees. Yep.
No, I'll print it.
Do
It's
because
easier
that
to
would be nice.
both
And
look
then
at it at the
when
same
we
time.
do it, I want you to tell me. So when we discuss your goal, I'm excited to see what it is. So don't tell me.
Okay.
And then I want to hear how. Where are you going to get your business?
Okay.
And what's your game plan? Whether that's the one open house a week. I want to see, and then what we're going to do is we're going to track. So yesterday on your open house, because this business is starting for January, right? So this deal will close probably in January.
Yes.
hopefully the end of December. But
Yes.
if it closes in January, that'll work.
December, Christmas.
Yes. So then what I want you to do is start tracking now.
Okay.
So everybody who came through your open house, you need to track that and say, I have this contact, this contact. So out of my open house, I had 10 people walk through. 4 of them were working with other agents, 2 were looky-loos, and I'm working with 2. So we know out of the 10, you got 2.
Okay.
So we want to start tracking that to see where your skill set's at. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then, so if 10 walk in and you didn't close all 10,
Conversion.
then I need to say, okay, well, what are you talking to them
what
about?
kind of conversations?
Right.
Am I
Okay.
asking the right questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or listening, or so like Jay has a problem because God love poor Jay. He's my gentle giant, but he's so big.
Yeah.
When you walk into, if you don't know Jay, he's a
Right.
very big guy.
Yeah.
So I tell Jay, you should never ever walk up on people coming into an open house. So you could walk up on somebody and say, hi, nice to meet you. But because Jay's stature's so big, I said to Jay, have them come to you. Because then they're more in control. But when you have somebody that's 6'8" walking towards you and you're going
intimidating.
you're going into a strange house, you don't know. So, and that was one of the things I think that he was doing. And I said, just stand back because you're such a big, which of course Jay doesn't see himself that way. You know, he sees himself as the gentle giant that he is. But people who don't know him don't see that. So I'm like, let them come to you, let them come in the door, you know, let them kind of walk around and then start asking the right questions. Because like Cindy, you know, she's 5'1", 100 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah.
She could walk up to anybody and and you know, the conversation starts because she's not as intimidating as Jay. Yeah. So when we start going through some of this, then those are questions I could lead, because like I was telling Jay, how come you're not converting?
Gotcha.
Like, what's going on in the process? And he said, I don't know. I think they're afraid of me. Or
then it could just be body language, what you're doing, like your actions.
Yeah.
So what would you say on the flip side of that, internally, because I'm so direct, I can come across as intimidating.
Yeah.
I'm very direct. And I'm
Put
like,
a lifesaver
I think
in
it's
and be
funny,
quiet.
but it was offensive to some people.
Some of that I can't help because I'm the same way.